Why does everything have to be centralized around looks?
Right.
That's annoying. That's so annoying to me. Usually just talking about like how, in a way, like I don't feel like a stereotypical model. Like I don't feel like I have to be dressed up or cute 100% all the time. Like when I don't have on my makeup or like a cute outfit, like I just look like a regular person and I'm okay with that. Like I love how the regular me looks like.
Right.
I don't feel the pressure to have to wear makeup all the time. I actually don't like makeup really that much, to be honest.
Right.
I'm just now learning how to do my makeup, and I've been doing modeling professionally for like 3 years now, and I'm just now forcing myself to learn how to do makeup. And I feel like people think that just because there's a certain level of attractiveness to you, you can't go through stuff. I'll be like, oh, but you're a model. Oh, you talk to these people, or oh, you're just because like you're a beautiful person outward, or people see you as a beautiful person, doesn't mean that you can't go through some really, 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 really bad stuff. Or like when you're talking about your bad stuff, everybody tries to default it to, oh, well, you look good. Wait, are we recording? Hey y'all, it's your girl Il Goddess, aka Glory, and if you could say my name right, it's Shekinah. And you can find me on social media, IG at Il Goddess, that's ILLGAWDESS. And you can find me on TikTok. I'm new there, so don't judge, at Gaudy G, which is GAWDYG. Peace, y'all. It's so interesting because sometimes I don't even believe that I've gotten to this point in my life. I'm just very, like, I'm still figuring my life out, and I'm getting older, and that freaks me out. But to answer the question in general, how I got into modeling was I always had like a little tickle for it. So I think like in college I really started like playing around with the idea. I had a friend, she was a photographer, graphic designer, and she could tell that I was like into it, so we would like shoot sometimes. And I just look at the pictures that I was taking back then, and I was like, oh, bless my little soul, I was trying so hard, but it was kind of looking a hot mess. But honestly, my modeling career really took off when I took photography, because before I was a model, I was a photographer. I started self-shooting myself. I always just had like these little wacky, weird ideas. So like I would take Uno cards and make a wall out of Uno cards, and then make earrings out of Uno cards, and just like shoot myself with it. Or like I would have my shaving razors, and I was like, I'm gonna make some earrings out my razors and go outside and like do something different and weird and just like shoot that, and then I would post it to social media. And I think after like some self-shooting and reaching out, like that kind of propelled me into doing modeling more, and also going to like little networking events.
Awesome. Like, speaking of networking events, we had a networking event today, and you definitely shine, and you've been you can tell you've been working on your craft like naturally, like you get the poses, like you and as a photographer, how has that helped you realize like with poses and stuff to make, or like?
Yeah, I would say that photography has helped me immensely with having transferable skills, and just because like I know what it's like to be a photographer and kind of start getting a little bit frustrated when a model might not know or you're just coaching the whole entire time, which is okay like if you're a beginner and stuff, because everybody has to have their start. But just for me, I know in my mind I'm just like, I don't want this photographer to be like, dang, like I gotta tell her how to move every inch every second. So I would say like learning my angles, learning how to find my light was something that like was really helpful, or just making dimensions with my body, because it adds like a greater depth of field, or like a greater aspect or a greater narrative. So I would say that photography has helped me a lot being in front of the camera. I would say that my Georgia life was me being exposed to like a lot of stuff, seeing like a lot of things, and my Florida life was pretty conservative, very, very conservative. As far as like who I am, that's such an interesting question. Because funny enough, I feel like that's just like always a forever development. And honestly, like I'm trying to figure that out. And me saying that like a year or two ago would have freaked me out, but like now I'm just like owning my truth, owning my journey, and realizing that I really don't have it all together, even though to some people it may look like I have a lot of things together. Honestly, it's just like life is a puzzle piece, and I'm still like learning how to put things in a certain spot or take things and like get rid of it. But overall, I would say I'm a multifaceted human being. I love nature. I like nature and the umbrellas, so like animals, hiking, the leaves, the trees. I like being in social circles. I don't have like necessarily like one tribe, and so sometimes I kind of find myself like a little confused or like ostracized because I can like fit in with so many different groups, but then at the end of the day, like it's like where's my core group, or like where are my core friends, or like, so it's like weird because like it's easy for me to just like, hey, rub shoulders or just meld into whatever environment like a chameleon, but in a positive way. But it's like a blessing and a curse because I can get along well with so many people, but at the end of the day, it's just like, where are my friends?
Right.
And so that's something that I've been trying to like come to terms with, and like also not being from the north and like living in Pennsylvania, I can kind of tell that I'm different from the culture that is set in the city that I'm in. So like sometimes just that naturally by itself kind of makes me like a sore thumb, and that's just something that I've had to like accept.
So what brought you to Philadelphia from, from the, obviously from the dirty, like from the, from Tallahassee?
So it's just really interesting. I would say it's like all divine because sometimes I still wonder, like out of all places, like how did I end up in Philly? But essentially I always knew that I never wanted to stay in Tallahassee, Florida. Like that's just like not a lifestyle or a living that I ever saw for myself. So I knew that once I graduated undergrad, I knew that I was leaving. It didn't matter where I was going, I just knew I was leaving Tallahassee. So essentially once I graduated, I was just like, what am I gonna do? So I had a friend tell me about a program called City Year, which is like me serving in an under-resourced school, helping children that are like way off their academic level get back on their academic level. So it was just really interesting because when you start the process, they give you 3 options to choose where you want to live. So I don't know what I was thinking, but I just put Philly, California, and New Orleans. And I think in the order that I put it was Philly, New Orleans, California. Don't ask me why I put Philly. I just put Philly. And I ended up in Philly. So that's just like how I got planted here. I finished my 1-year contract with City Year. I knew that I wanted to do grad school, so I started grad school immediately after City Year. And then honestly, during the pandemic or a little bit before that, like my modeling career just like took off.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, see, that was awesome. But yeah, that's, so you had a intrinsic need to give back, and that's what so that's.
I was like, how are you reading me right now? It's like, where's the crystal ball?
No, that's an awesome.
Yeah.
Like, what are your core values as a person?
It's so interesting. Honestly, my core values are loyalty. Like that's a big thing for me, and I think because it sounds so weird saying it because like I'm not throwing shots or anything, but like I've been betrayed so many times, but even in the betrayal, like I was still loyal, or I felt like still like defensive about like the person or the people, just because like when I'm loyal to whoever it is, like that's just how I am. Like I'm locked in, like there's just no way, like, but like once it's done, it's done. It's like done forever. There's no wedging your way back in, but like loyalty is like a really big thing for me. And to be honest, a newer core value for me is family. Like I do come from like a big family. I'm the oldest of 5. But like oddly enough, like yes, I've always had my family around me, but sometimes you can miss the importance of it. And I would say like over the past year and a half, like I've just really I'm like really building an understanding of like family and how important they are, because I've just always had this mindset of like, no, I have to do it alone. Like I don't want to ask for help. I don't need my family to help me. I don't need my friends to help me. Like I'm just gonna have to do this by myself. And maybe that was fostered by like a lot of the things that had happened to me in like high school and middle school and stuff like that. So I kind of got this thing where it's just like, no, like I'm gonna just do it by myself. But within like the year and a half, like I'm just like, family, they're important. So loyalty, family, and setting boundaries. Like at this point in my life, that has become like a core value, because as I am owning my truth, like I realized that I've done a lot of self-sacrificing because I was afraid to say no. I used to say yes to everything out of just the want of wanting friends and friendship, and it got me in like a lot of compromising positions. And so just, yeah, my core values is loyalty, family, saying no, setting boundaries, and the list can go on, but those are some of my core values. Like actual relationships, I've come to realize that a lot of people fall in love with the image of you, and they feed themselves like what this person could be or what they're like, or they fall in love with your social media, and they've just built like this falsehood about you. Like, yes, some pieces are true, but some pieces are just like way off. So it's just like, as far as like intimate relationships, it can be like, oh, well, yes, this is the other side of me behind the screen. Like, and the thing about it is I'm very transparent and I'm real and raw, like on my social media, but of course within like certain parameters where I don't have people like all of my business. But you can just tell when somebody's like more so in love with the image of who you are versus like the real you. Also like understanding that when you're a powerful person, if you're dating someone, like their potential to be intimidated or overshadowed, or they do little things that kind of like bring you down. And it's kind of strange because it's just like, I thought, you know, I support you, I pour into you, and you support me and pour into me, and it's like a mutual thing. But it's just like, oh, if I have a shoot or I have like back-to-back shoots or music videos, it's just like, and communication is a big thing for me, and I will say that I've come a long way in the communication department. So dating in this industry, like communication is a big thing. Like, I'm gonna let you know, hey, I'm switching to this set, I'm going to this set, and it's not on like no weird type time, like, oh, like, you know, like, where are you, what are you doing? It's just for me, like, I want my person to know, like, this is how I'm moving, this is where I'm at, so they don't have to be second guessing or thinking like, oh, well, you know what I'm saying? So communication is really big when you're talking to someone in the industry. But the thing about it is, I don't really want nobody in the industry or nothing like that. Like, keep that, like. But anyway, as I was saying, like, it could get sticky and it could get tricky, especially if it's like two people in the industry, or let me not even say industry, creatives. Like, as a creative, talking to another creative, sometimes like you can feel like this competitiveness spirit. I don't have time for that. Like, we're not supposed to compete with each other. We're supposed to pour into each other, support each other. So sometimes I find myself like with like a partner that just be like trying to compete, and I'm just like, I'm not competing with you. We're in our own lanes. Like, let me help you get to where you want to go. Help me get to where I want to go. And friendships or like family, honestly, as I said, I came from a conservative background, so I know my family had some concerns about me kind of like being out here. But they see that I've made a name for myself and they see the success. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they're all for it. Like, they're like, oh my gosh, like my sister. Like, my sisters have always been my biggest supporter, my brother too, but my brother being in his own world. But my sisters have always been like my biggest supporters. So it's just like, you know, getting to hear them be like, yeah, my sister was in that music video. My sister was in this commercial. My sister was like with this brand. Like, it makes me happy. Now, friendships and stuff, it's me coming from like a really humble background. It's hard for me to use the J word to say jealousy, but my mom used to be like, baby, they're jealous. No, mom, no, they're not. They not jealous. Those my friends. They my friends. And you know, you don't want to hear it.
Your mama always say
do runway, but I'm not gonna lie, like, I would rather do free shoots than walk a runway for free. And I haven't met anybody within my circle or women that just look amazing and like they're worth $1 billion. Like, they're not getting paid. Like, they just love to walk in a designer's clothes, but I'm not gonna lie. If I'm doing runway, I just want to be paid for that. I ain't gonna lie. But that's just how I feel about it. Especially like if you want me on all these different runways, pay me.
Right.
And usually like it's not all about the money, but when it comes to runway, it's just like pay me to walk the runway.
Right. This is in line. Right.
So that's just how I feel about it. Like, and I have yet to meet like model, cause like I have girls in my circle that literally kill when they're walking down the runway, and they just love it. But it's just like in my head, I'm like, you should be being paid for that. You're on every single runway. You're on Graham and different designer every other day, and you're not getting paid for that.
Wow.
You gotta love it. You just runway is something that you just really have to love.
So,
And, yeah.
So what would you say the benefits are in runway? Like,
Exposure.
Exposure.
Getting to say that you work with like a high-end designer and high-end brand. So like I get it. Like I want to do some Gucci and Prada or walk in Rihanna's Savage Fenty line and stuff like that. Like don't get me wrong, but like just sometimes, you know, not every
you want to be
runway.
appreciated.
I do. Like
Yeah.
I do, and I don't think that's a crime. I don't think it's a crime at all though.
Yeah.
To do runway without the pay. I just know for me in that realm, I just want to be like, yeah, I get paid to grace runways. Yeah, so I don't know how you get paid to do runway. I think you just gotta really be up there or rub shoulders with some people, but I haven't met anybody yet in my realm that has got paid to do runway.
We gonna find out. We gonna get to the bottom of this. I'm gonna transition to that. So how do you keep the bodying? Like what
So it's funny because coming back from like the pandemic, like you just notice like changes, and I changed. Like I haven't really ever been necessarily like a skinny stick. I've always been like pretty curvaceous or meat on my bones, as they say down south. But honestly, I feel like I'm going wherever I'm accepted for my body size and how my face looks like. Like I can wear different hairstyles and look very differently. I can wear different clothes and look very differently, and my body just changes a lot. Like I know that I'm an emotional eater, so sometimes like depending on what season I'm in my life, I'm a little fluffier. So, you know, I have to find the work that accepts me for my weight and my height, because we know that there's standards and parameters in this industry. Even though we're diversifying, there's still like parameters. But I do relatively try to eat healthy, so like drinking, you know, 8 to 10 glasses of water a day. I love my fruits and veggies. I have my days where like I'll not eat meat consecutively. A lot of people think I'm vegan. I'm gonna put it out here for y'all. I'm part-time vegan, okay? Part-time. So yeah, so the body thing, that's just been a journey in itself. Like I haven't been like obese and I haven't been a stick. I've just been like, maybe we can call it medium girls. I think that might be a term. Medium. Yeah, the pressure would be heavy. Because there was one point in time where I dropped a lot of weight, and it was funny because people was like, are you okay? They didn't say it to my face, but somehow, some way, like when we actually just like would start talking and I would bring my weight up, they'd be like, oh yeah, like, oh, I thought you was sick. I'm not gonna lie, like you look different. And I was just like, dang, I thought I was out here cute when I was like real tiny, but like it had got to a point like where I had lost my hips. I lost my shape, and it wasn't like bad, like where I looked like crazy. Like it looked good, but because my family, the family of women that I'm from, like they are curvaceous and stuff like that. So like when I no longer had that, it was like, what happened to you? Nothing happened. I just worked out a lot and I stopped eating certain things, and it was just able to just shed really quickly. I wasn't doing nothing crazy, but I was consistent. And it had gave me a certain result, and that result ended up in me being very slender. That like it only lasted for like 10 months, and then I got right back to like
what was
the
that?
size that I love.
What was your low weight? What was the weight?
I think I was like at least like 145, 144.
Well, it's just small.
Yeah, am I small?
Where are you now?
Funny enough, as you step into your woman body, because you know they say we go through like a second puberty, your weight just like moves in different places and stuff. Right. So right now I am 147.8, so we might as well just say 148.
Right.
So that's where I'm at now. then it's just funny because like just depending on where like your fat and muscle goes, you can look really slender or you can look, you know, curvaceous. So
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have never guessed that. Like you was ever 140. So like right now, you look. I mean, you look curvaceous and all those things, but you still look like a 130 tight. Like you know,
yeah,
and
no,
good. So
and the largest I've been is like 180. And even when I was at 180, I was still snatching.
wow.
But you can snatch that anyway, so that's just that on that.
Well, dang, that's good. So like, but like, what do you mean?
Like they still go for the plus size models that still have like an hourglass shape, or they have features that they deem foreign. So it's still like a mold that they're trying to. It's like they're still trying to be like, oh, like we're inclusive, we're diverse, but no, like it's still like a certain selectiveness that they're doing where it's kind of not as inclusive. If you're gonna, you know, do plus size and stuff like that, you need the medium girls that fall under plus size. You need the plus size girls that don't necessarily have that hourglass shape. You don't need the you know, the plus size, like only the plus size girls that still have like a slender face. Like, you know, what about the round face girls and stuff like that? So it's just like, yeah, it's diversifying, it's getting different, but like you still see the favoritism.
that's very interesting.
So if I ever start my own line or like casting agency, I'm just putting that out there. I want everybody, like every color, every shape, skin condition, whatever condition, like everybody has their own superpower, their own power, and like if I ever start that, just know that there's a seat at my table for everybody in their unique abilities or, you know, unique body form. Just putting that out there.
I believe that. I believe that.
Riri is setting the standard and the bar, like from her fashion shows, even like the men that she selects and chooses for, you know, her shoots and her website is different. I see so many different women, and shout out to Rihanna because she is what inclusivity means and is, and she does that very, very, very well. People need to take from her blueprint. Hey y'all, it's your girl Il Goddess, aka Glory, and if you could say my name right, it's Shekinah, and you can find me on social media, IG at Il Goddess, that's ILLGAWDESS, and you can find me on TikTok. I'm new there, so don't judge, at Gaudy G, which is GAWDYG.